We interrupt your program to issue a severe warning for an impending emergency making its way to your area. We urge you to be watchmen of the times and to be prepared with the essential knowledge and supplies for the wake of the final hour.
Welcome to the Final Hour podcast, coming to you from the Original Living Word Christian Center out of Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yeah.
My name's Jim Hammond. This is John Gapp. This is Lonaiah Farrell, and we have Jeremiah with us because D. Schrader's on vacation in
Lucky
Vegas.
guy.
For him.
Good
Yes.
for him. He needed it.
What D. Schrader is doing in Vegas, we don't know, but he's there.
I
What-
think it's a nap. He's probably taking a nap.
Yes. So we're going to flip it around, do it a little different today. And I just want to start by, we've got Ireland joining Canada and the Netherlands and contributing to the world world famine. These leftist governments are forcing famines by mandating fertilizer reductions and seizing farmlands. And it's all part of the Great Reset, the New World Order of Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum. You'll have nothing, including no food, while they're in their castles on the hill, insulated from the terrors that they create. First, think about this, the complete collapse of the Sri Lankan government.
Yep.
A lot of people don't understand why. That occurred because the government for Sri Lanka was anxious for the approval for the World Economic Forum, and they're implementing all their policies, and their people started to starve, and there was an uprising, and the world had entirely at one time organic farming in the pre-modern era, and there was a name for it. It was called subsistence farming. That meant that farmers subsisted on the margin of famine. With a single bad growing season or blighted crop, it could destroy a society in 1 year.
Yep.
And that's what these guys are going back to. We have farmers in the Netherlands striking because government their government announced that they had to reduce their nitrogen output by 30 to 70%, something that will destroy farms. And that's fertilizer, right? The nitrogen. And that the government is seizing farmland over there in the Netherlands. See, this is the difference between a socialist government and a capitalist government like ourselves, a real democracy. Honestly, a socialism, we don't think, everybody, the government has complete control. They can take your land. They can take whatever they want when it comes down to it. We're seeing what Canada did, freezing the bank accounts and things like that. You're seeing the difference between socialism and actual democracy. Up until now, Holland has been one of the preeminent food-producing countries in the world. But the farmers' own government seeks to end that. And so what they're doing is they're taking their land and they're giving it to asylum seekers. Like what? It's just
crazy.
Yeah, like wow. And two more countries are joining the list of countries with governments that are deliberately embracing famine. Of course, we've got Fidel Castro's very close relative, Justin Trudeau.
Of course, Canada.
All right? Justin Trudeau is planning to reduce nitrous oxide emissions by 30% over the next 10 years, but they're going to shoot for 40 to 45%. And ministers of Alberta and Saskatchewan up in Canada said that will substantially reduce food production. Is it just a coincidence that all these people are doing this all at the same time?
No, but I was reading an article about the Canada thing, and they said that they're going after the Freedom Convoy farmers first.
Yeah, of course.
So they're the first ones that they're targeting. Yes.
But they have an answer. You know what their answer is? Bugs. They've invested a plan to produce 9,000 metric tons of crickets for animal and human consumption.
That is just...
Get your act together, Canada.
And listen, Listen, and these guys are really going to be eating crickets.
I would never eat a
Seriously.
cricket.
No, they're not.
Canada is a red meat eating country.
But I'm talking about the guys in charge sitting up.
I know.
And
No, they're not going to eat. You think Justin Trudeau's going to have crickets at his dinner party?
Absolutely not.
When he has them with Gavin Newsom, they're going to eat crickets.
I was going to say,
They're
there's
probably
been stars doing the crickets eating
Yes. I was
commercials.
last week we were talking about how Nicole Kidman was eating mealworms, like in a ball gown, eating them, making it look really great.
This is by design,
Yes.
America, and we're witnessing. It's really madness. Okay,
It is madness.
At various world governments they're entering a race to return to a time of cold, dark, and famine.
Yeah.
Right.
Seriously. And Ireland has just hopped on board let's create a famine bandwagon.
Yeah.
All right. And they agreed to force a cut of either 27 or 28% on the country's farming sector. One of the country's largest farming organizations has said it would result in a massive cut in cattle numbers in the country. So the farming, the growing of food, the farm animals, it's all going away systematically.
Can I say something about what their other solution is besides just bugs? Because I was reading about this, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So. Yeah. Okay. So this says Canada has implemented new restrictions on agriculture under the banner of fighting climate change, which we've all heard a lot about that lately. Farmers argue this would be similar to the same fertilizer ban implemented in the Netherlands, which is predicted to force many farms out of business. Similar to the Netherlands, protests in Canada are already brewing. Meanwhile, the New York Times is offering a potential solution to rising food costs and climate change. Cannibalism. I'm not even lying.
No,
I read the article.
Yeah.
Cannibalism. They're telling you to, and actually, they're also taking your DNA and they're creating meat to taste like human flesh. And I know we talked about this before.
Yeah.
But in Sweden, the #1 burger tastes like human flesh.
What?
That's what won the prize for Sweden's burger. So
It's Soylent Green. It's real. It's out there. Oh, that's so gross. That is so wrong.
I'll link the article about the cannibalism because it is, and TV shows are coming out about cannibalism. It's
madness.
Madness. Okay, sorry.
goodness.
I just wanted to
No,
throw
no,
that
we
in
need
there.
That's I mean, it's the real life zombieing kind of, having people think that cannibalism is good. This is, we'll go ahead and eat people.
Gross.
It's terrible.
And remember, the
wicked.
American farmers are no longer receiving fertilizer from Russia and Belarus.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, and it's become much more expensive. Expensive fertilizer means limited, expensive food supplies.
Yeah.
And so in a time of modern farming that should see unlimited amounts of food, it's being predicted that famine will soon be haunting America too. And this is all to save the planet.
Of course.
This is to save thank you, World Economic Forum, for saving the planet. The world population is 8 billion.
Yep.
You know what their goal is? 500 million. They want 500 million. That's what they want, the world population.
Yeah.
And you can see how they're trying to do it. And
a few different ways, yes.
And people are just sitting back and watching.
They're being led down it just unwittingly.
Right.
It's frightening, honestly.
It is.
Oh my goodness.
The puppet masters at play.
Yeah. I mean, they say it openly. The World Economic Forum says it openly that the world population should be 500
Yes, Jan Goodall
people.
just did a video saying exactly that statement from the World Economic Forum stage.
Yeah.
So they are not hiding
They're
it.
not hiding
you think
it at
that
all.
That's not true. She literally says that. There's a video recording of her saying that.
So we know that they have their people in governments all over the world.
Right.
So if we hear them saying it proudly and loudly and saying this is what we want, Earth would be better if it was, a 16th of the current population, and things keep coming out that you can connect the dots to that. Why we cannot let them continue to do that. But people have to open their eyes to this mechanism of infecting world policies.
True.
And trying to kill off, as John said, 1/16 of the world. It's just going into plan. And the goal is by 2030, the big, you hear that year all the time, 2030. But there's something connected to all this in this article that John has in regards to the states.
So the end of the American Dream blog, it's a very positive, uplifting title to their blog, but the end of the American Dream blog, they've got an article talking about ranchers are selling off their cattle in unprecedented numbers due to the drought, and that has enormous implications for 2023. Basically, Southwest America is having a real time getting moisture. Lake Mead in Nevada, what's the border there? Arizona, California. Lake Mead, all the water for those states is coming through that area. Lake Mead has dropped significantly. It has. So all of that is adding up to not enough water, meaning not enough grazing lands for cattle in those states. And one of the bigger states that's having trouble is Texas. So there's a lot of farmers or ranchers that are selling off their calves. They should be about 600 pounds, and they're only 350 to 450 pounds. So they're not getting the money for those cattle, and because they can't get the food.
I don't know if you saw the line of like farmers in their trucks of cattle. It was really sad.
Yeah.
But I will say something else about the drought, because
isn't there a connection to who owns the water rights? Because
I was listening to this podcast and they were talking about all the farmland that China and Bill Gates and et cetera people open, but they are when they own those farmlands. I guess I didn't even think about it. They own the water rights to that too.
Exactly.
So they don't have to allow the water to be used for whatever it was being used for. So you have let's see, you have Bill Gates, who owns a ton of farmland, right? You have China, who owns 192,000 acres of farmland, $2 billion worth of farmland in America. And they're not allowing water to be used from their farmland. Then you're going to have this all over.
Yeah. So just to get back to that, so what they're talking about in the article, it says costs for feed, fertilizer, and fuel have been soaring. There's a lack of water in the state and little hay. That's resulting in a firehouse of cattle getting auctioned at Texas sale barns. Emory Livestock Auction in Inc., just over an hour's drive east from Dallas, is seeing nearly quadruple the normal rates, with ranchers in panic mode. And said Jack Robinson, an 83-year-old auctioneer. Normally, ranchers would wait until their cattle have reached a desired weight before finally selling them off, but they're not able to do that.
Sad.
Another rancher, Jared Montford, has pointed out that we depend on a very small sliver of the population to feed the rest of us. 1.6 to 1.7% of the population feeds the rest. It's not how bad we are at the end of the day. It's the fact that if we don't survive, our nation fails.
Wow. That is intense.
Yeah.
But it's all part of the plan.
Yes.
It is part of the plan.
It's all i.e. China, Bill Gates owning the farmland, withholding the water rights, and we can just go on and on.
Yep.
What about the railroads refusing to ship fertilizer?
Yeah.
And
fertilizer and
anything
diesel,
but
DEF.
Yeah.
Minuscule amounts.
Yeah.
Right? For what? Because it's being run by World Economic Forum people.
Can I throw something out there?
Please.
For anybody who is growing food, look up.
You mean a little garden in your backyard?
Yep. Look up the word electroculture. Electroculture. It's pretty interesting. It's you can use electricity to grow bigger, better veggies. I don't know.
Well, are they going to take that away with climate change?
How can you? I mean, it's
you're using
from
electricity.
The sun.
Oh, okay.
It's from the Earth, the Earth's magnetic field. It's pretty interesting. Look it up.
So the sun is just shining on your plants.
Look it up later, Lonaiah.
Right, okay.
Did you have something?
Yeah, on China?
Yes.
Well,
China.
we did discuss this, but sorry, these papers.
Sorry.
Lately, it's been coming out a lot in the news about China and their, I guess, kind of infiltrating America and how it should be concerning to people.
Right.
So you have China, which we talked about. They were buying Air Force or farmland close to Air Force bases in North Dakota.
Yep.
In Texas, they were doing that. I was listening to a podcast of the guy who he's an attorney, and he was involved in getting the certain rights and regulations and legislative things passed so they could stop buying land close to certain areas.
Right.
Because he's like, shouldn't this be concerning to us that China is buying such important land next to Air Force bases, next to airports? Like, they're not just buying in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
They're literally 20 minutes from Grand Forks Air Force
But
Base.
I thought there was proven there was surveillance.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
So they're saying that with everything that they have there, that they are now breaching and infiltrating and getting data from the Air Force base. And they're taking it and they're utilizing it for themselves, right? So you have a military official who's saying if this was the other way around, China would not be allowing us to buy land in a country next to these areas. So China has paid $2.6 million in this bill or in this land purchase that was made in April. So Air Force Major Jeremy Fox, who is based at the facility in North Dakota, wrote a memo warning that the move is yet another example of Chinese assuming close proximity to sensitive U.S. military installations. He said some of this most sensitive elements of Grand Force exist with digital uplinks and downloads, inherit with unmanned air systems in their interaction with space-based assets. So he's saying that they're taking that they're just moving closer to these places and they're purposefully gathering information. And at first it was like, no, they're not. They're not getting any data from us. But then they started to show that they were because they had these it's called Haywire systems. Okay. And you'll never believe who's involved with it, but Bill Gates is involved with this Chinese. Yes. And President Trump stopped it, right?
Yeah.
He put a bill in 2018 that said they could no longer use the system. They were going to shut it down. Well, Biden in February canceled that so that they could start using it because they just said it would cost too much money to get rid of it. So the FBI actually gets involved with the Haywire equipment and says that they've realized that China...
Huawei.
That's how you say it.
The phone company, Huawei.
Yes. Yeah. Could recognize and disrupt DoD spectrum communications. Yeah. Even though it had been certified by the FCC, according to a source familiar with the investigation. So basically, you do have them.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Infiltrating into all of our little areas, gathering information. Not only that, but we know TikTok has been we've talked about this before, how they were saying the Chinese government was watching people.
Right.
Well, I don't know if anybody saw, but Joe Rogan just did a little rabbit trail on the air of his show.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, they can get all this information from you.
Yep.
They can get so it is, they are gathering information on you.
Yeah.
Even DNA tests, it came out this week. Like when you do a heritage DNA test.
That's China.
That is China. It goes to China. The congressman, I can't remember his name, but he said they can create bioweapons against you.
Yeah.
Based off of all this data that they have right here. Off of the military-based stuff, the DNA stuff, and the TikTok stuff. They're like, they have enough to basically get rid of America.
It makes you wonder, is our government in tandem with them? I mean,
obviously,
why would anybody
some parts
allow an enemy to purchase land right next to one of your Air Force bases and then surveil you? And what are they doing? What are they doing about it? Sounds like nothing.
And why?
Nothing.
Why would Biden's administration get rid of? I can't remember the exact name of whatever it was that Trump had. But why would you? I mean, I'm just saying hypothetically. Why would you do that if you didn't want them to come in and do what they're trying to do? If you didn't want America to fall,
the threads for Biden's loyalty to America it's not strong.
No, it's not.
I mean, if you look at any of the Hunter Biden connections in Russia, Ukraine, and China, obviously it's all there if you want to look.
It is. And the 6 million barrels of oil that we just sold to China in April is Well, I read it was 6 million in an article. Yes.
I believe you.
And it's they sold it for around $113 million. That's now being investigated because they're saying technically Biden administration couldn't sell the oil reserves to other countries. It had to do with like foreign policies.
Well, I'm just kind of the point, well, who's investigating? Who's investigating? Who is that? I mean, would we want the Justice Department to investigate?
DOJ
no. They're a joke. They're a joke. They're
joke.
And the FBI? You want the FBI to investigate?
No, they're not.
Who's going to investigate that, Lonaiah?
I don't know.
The American people are going to have to at some point. But the
I'll have to
government
say there are
is
some
big.
really good members of Congress and Senate that are actually putting these things in during the recorded meetings because they're all recorded, right?
Yeah.
But they're dropping in, right? Like Matt Gaetz just brought in Hunter Biden's laptop,
right?
Like discreetly, right? And he was like, "Here you go." He said he couldn't find it. Here you go. So, and somebody else brought in the barrels being sold.
Yeah,
good.
So it is getting in there.
Yeah, we'll see.
But the American people don't hear it because
No.
the press is not willing to expose this administration.
No, I mean, I was watching Fox News 2 nights ago, and China, I think this is kind of when it alerted them.
Yeah.
They just bought a bunch of land in Montana, apparently by another Air Force base.
Yeah, well-
so I think that's when because we've been talking about the Air Force base maybe for a couple weeks now.
Yeah.
We talked about it a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago.
Yeah.
But now that they bought 2 by Air Force bases in the
in the north plains of America.
Yes.
Where
and they were starting to say that they control the agriculture and the water rights to those to that land.
Yeah.
That's when it kind of was like red alerts.
So is that your last article?
Yes, Jim.
Well, the thing about the water rights, with water rights, they can be getting down to whatever aquifer that land is connected to, and if they wanted to attack a people and you get into that aquifer, you can. I mean, it's like the medieval tactics or ancient tactics of cut off the water from a castle and you siege, and if they can't have water inside the castle inside that fortress, they aren't going to last long. No. So, water is strategy.
Yeah, everybody's saying food and your resources and how you get your food is how you control people. And
absolutely.
Look at everybody trying to control us.
We got some quick hitters here.
Yes.
Panama is now protesting widespread unrest as people protest food shortages and fuel shortages. Geez, sounds like Sri Lanka. Mm-hmm. The WHO has now declared monkeypox a global health emergency. China again.
Yeah. That only affects a certain group of people. If you do your research on monkeypox, it doesn't affect.
If you have the mark of the monkey.
Yes. Anyways.
Masks are back in California now.
Mm-hmm. Ridiculous.
We have 100 Florida churches file suit to leave the United Methodist churches.
Good idea.
Yes.
Because of the United Methodist Church embracing transgender, homosexuality, even homosexual ministers.
Yeah.
And so
Can I say one really quick thing about that?
Of course you can.
When I was reading about that, they were saying that some of these churches have to pay anywhere from $100,000 to $1 million. So the fact that these churches, the ones who have to pay $1 million to leave, that's a big deal.
Yeah, but you see it.
For their soul, though.
Yes, I know, but I love that they're taking a stand. Like, I don't care how much money it costs. We are not going to be associated with that.
Yeah.
And there's another, I just learned this morning that we told you now, part of the end times, you're going to have 500 million people in the tribulation killed from animal attacks. And so I've been saying the animals are getting weird. All right.
Yeah.
I'm walking my little dog in the woods the other day, and a buck was literally within 3 feet, huffing at me. And I thought, is this thing going to come at us? And he was from me to the camera, and he's looking at us, and he was not. I'm just saying there's a change. You've got monkeys now that are sneaking into people's houses in Japan and kidnapping babies.
Yeah, it was like, is it 60?
Yes, it's like 56 or
attacks,
60. Yes.
Including just snatching babies.
Like literally a mom was feeding her baby and a monkey came and took the baby and the mom tried to grab back and the monkey slapped the mom across the face like a monkey.
Yeah.
So be watching for that.
Yeah.
That's a sign. And then I had to add this one in. Al Gore, the guy that invented the internet.
The algorithms.
Yeah. Al Gore.
Let's not give him that much credit, John.
Compares climate change deniers to the botched law enforcement response at in that school in Texas. What is that
Uvalde.
Uvalde, Texas, where the cops waited 75 minutes before going and getting the shooter.
Ridiculous.
And so he compares, but this is Al Gore. All right, listen. Do you know Al Gore's energy bill for one of his houses was $30,000 alone next month? And this
Sounds
is the
like
point I'm trying.
Green energy. Green energy is really working.
This is what I'm trying to tell you. Okay. These guys, they're going to be squeezing everybody, keeping everybody from meat, keeping everybody down. We're all going to be eating bugs, and Al Gore's going to be sitting in his mansion spending $30,000 energy bill a month. Yeah. I'm just saying they don't, it's not about fairness. It's about dominance.
Yeah, right.
It's about world dominance is what it is.
They're always going to use a crisis, and they're always going to try and keep people in fear. And I don't know if any of you follow Project Veritas, but a year and a half ago, it came up on my feed that they were talking to some Democratic person in the party, and they were warning this person, because you know how Project Veritas, they just have conversations with people at restaurants.
Right.
This person was saying that climate change will be the next epidemic or pandemic that the Democrats are forcing on the world. And we've had hot temperatures before, right?
Yep.
But you're looking at everything. Like I was watching something the other day, and it was like the runway in England is melting because it's so hot. And I just thought, why all of a sudden are we hearing about all these random heat waves? It's normal. It's summer.
Yeah, it is summer. And when you have a tarmac made of part of tarmac is tar. Like when it gets hot, it gets sticky. That's always how it's been.
And apparently, like England is like the #1 place to go right now. So if you're having all these planes on that, of course it's going to wear it down and tear it down and cause friction on the runway.
Right.
Like,
obviously.
But look at them. Like,
I mean, if you live in Minnesota, I mean, even if it's a calm summer and it only gets up to like 95, you still see the ruts in the roads because it gets warm.
Well, I feel like I don't think we've had a really hot summer.
We had a couple of days over 100 or right at 100.
But I'm saying right now it's a little cold out.
Yeah, right now this week it's under 80 most of the time.
Yeah.
So it balances out.
You expect a weather update, Jim.
But I mean, climate is dynamic. The Earth's climate is dynamic. It's not a single line. It is a dynamic thing.
Yeah, but even
you'll always get a fair weather report at the Final Hour podcast.
But even the New York Times was saying, because Joe Biden said it's a semi-emergency state of climate, and he was like, they're like, is this really an emergency or is it not? It can't be a semi-emergency. It's either an emergency or it isn't. And why is everything an emergency? Why is everything why are you always trying to instill fear into people?
Because emergencies allow you to release federal funds.
And control things. Yeah, you're right. That's exactly what
give a lot of money away.
Yep.
Yeah.
To the people that are going to do
in Ukraine, who are on the Vogue cover. Sorry.
Yeah. They're fighting a war in Ukraine, and Zelensky and his wife are on the cover of Vogue. What's going on here?
I don't know. Okay.
Anyways,
sorry.
But we're going to get into the short teaching portion, and this is going to be we're going to follow this the way we did it today. We're going to start with the news, and then we're going to end it with a little bit of teaching out of Revelation. And remember, just a quick review. We started with John, the Apostle John, being led by an angel into the spirit wilderness, right? And we've been talking the last couple weeks about the harlot out of the book of Revelation, chapter 17, and we've gone over the fact that she has mystery, Babylon the Great, mother of harlots, the abominations of the earth, written on her forehead. We've gone over the fact she's drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus Christ. And last week we talked about the beast that she was riding. And just to remind you, it's disputed between scholars if this beast is the Antichrist himself, or is this the satanic prince that assisted Alexander the Great and will be coming back with some renewed features on him, the leopard. You remember the leopard? To assist the Antichrist. Now remember, when the church is raptured prior to the tribulation, what comes in is a counterfeit church, a false religion. This mystery of Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots, it's what she represents.
Yeah.
And this religion we talked about, if you want to review on the last couple podcasts, deeply about what the mystery of Babylon stands for. But this is a religious system, a political system, and it's not difficult to see that the religious side of this being put in after the church has been raptured.
Yeah.
When you look at these churches that are compromising and more or less you could say merging with the culture of the world even now. You've got a bunch of people out there that don't universalism, they don't even think there's a hell.
Right.
Like a lot of Christians are not even believing there's a hell. And this is a lot. You see these in the 7 letters to the 7 churches. 3 of the churches, he's going with false doctrine. He's correcting for, Jesus is correcting for false doctrine. And this is what's going on today. But if we look at this, Revelation 17:12 through 14, the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords, King of kings, and they are with him, are called and chosen and faithful. And so what we've got here is the 10 horns, which the Bible is clear about. It represents the 10 kings. For a while, they reign simultaneously with the Antichrist. They're aligned with the Antichrist, and some scholars believe they align specifically to stand against the nation of Israel.
Yeah.
And so scholars are probably they're saying probably behind the Palestinian deal.
Yeah.
It'll still be going on in the tribulation. This is early in the tribulation, and these particular scholars believe the 1 hour reign with the Antichrist will be approximately 3.5 years. And we have in verse 13, these have one mind, all right, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. And as we do know, and have talked about this extensively when we went through the book of Daniel, we can see at first they have one mind, okay, with the Antichrist, but this is how they get to having one mind. So Revelation and Daniel go together. Unless you go to Daniel 7:8, I considered the horns and beheld, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. Behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and the mouth speaking great things. This is the Antichrist going to war with 3 of the 10 kingdoms, right? What some people call the revised Roman Empire. It's not here yet, but they will rise probably immediately after the rapture. Many scholars believe these 3 nations are Egypt, Turkey, and Greece, and that the Antichrist defeats them convincingly, and then the other 7 see how bad he crushes Egypt, Turkey, and Greece, and they capitulate to him. So then he has control over all 10 nations. Why do scholars believe these 3 countries that attack the Antichrist are Egypt, Turkey, and Greece? Because without going through too much detail, you can find that in Daniel chapter 8, verses 8 and 9. All right. And I'm getting ahead of myself here, but you can see this from verse 13. Now they have one mind from the beginning, and then give their power and strength to the Antichrist. Revelation 17:14. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords, King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. So this verse is talking about the Antichrist and now the 10 kingdoms that he's ruling over, making war with Israel. This is referring to the Battle of Armageddon. And we've already really covered that battle. You can see that on a whole episode. And the Antichrist is going to do his very best to kill every Christian on earth during the tribulation. He's going to reach outside his borders, doing all the damage to Christians he can all over the world. And with that same hatred, he goes after the nation of Israel. And we see the whole natural world will not be able to stand against one amazing supernatural God. And although we're going to read more about this defeat, and like I said, we've already talked about it, next week we're going to get into and see the end of the harlot. All right, which we'll see in Revelation 17, 15 to 18. She gets at odds with the Antichrist, the 10 kingdoms, and his minions. And this is why a lot of people think that the harlot is the Catholic Church. All right, crazy? And nothing against the Catholics. I know a lot of saved Catholics. Yes. Some of the best people I know. I've had neighbors who are Catholics for 25 years.
Yes.
But this Pope, let's just be real. He's a little weird.
He is.
And my in-laws all say the same thing about this Pope.
Really?
They're like,
and they're devout Catholics, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's left. He's a left. He's very left. He's very progressive. And it's so interesting.
He's part of the World Economic Forum.
He definitely is.
Yeah, he's a world. And so it's hard.
Shocker.
Wouldn't that be perfect for the Antichrist to adopt that false religion, which is a picture of a piece of the mystery of Babylon harlot. But eventually, let me tell you what happens. Oh, we'll have to wait till next time because she gets at odds with the Antichrist, the harlot.
Why? I want to know why.
Well, you're just going to have to.
Is it because all the Christians?
Read your Bible.
I mean, I have a long time ago, but I want to talk about that.
Well, we're going to hit it next week.
Yeah.
We're going to hit
I have to wait a whole week to have a discussion.
Well, we can go back to the office if you want. Okay, so listen, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. D. Schrader, we miss you, buddy.
Yes,
you.
Just play. No, I can't say that.
Hope you're having a good time.
Yeah.
You know? Enjoy yourself. Relax. And
stay away from that blackjack table, D. Schrader. Okay. And so, listen, we love you guys. We pray for you guys. I pray for our viewers, listeners, and subscribers every day. Every day I do. You're in my prayers. Thank you so much for turning us on. Thank you so much for subscribing to the Final Hour podcast. God bless you.